do you feel like there's a stigma within the Black community when it comes to mental illness?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
it's
a
such a
given.
taboo subject within like the community.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also, when you say taboo, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like it's not spoken
I
about
feel
within
like,
the household, or
yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
it's not spoken about. It's kind of under the covers. Like people find it very uncomfortable. Like if people are going through like bad mental health or depression or anything, like they might not want to come out because they don't think they're going to be heard, or they don't think they're going to be taken seriously, or
Yeah.
like people who are depressed
Yeah.
people might be thinking, oh, they're just lazy, they don't want to get out of bed, they don't want to do anything, but really they're actually going through something.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that
For
whole,
me.
what have you got to be upset about
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
What have you got to be like what is it in your life? Like you got it easy kind of thing.
Yeah. For me, I think coming from like, I guess, a traditional sense, like I don't know about other African cultures, but for Kenya and Tanzania specifically, there's kind of this, like, especially with like depression and say if someone's, I don't know, maybe bipolar or something like that, issues like that, is like you're possessed, you need to pray, you take them to church, take them to mosque. Do you get what I mean? Like they don't see, there's no such thing as depression, there's no such thing as all of these different things that they don't understand.
Yeah.
Like certain things can actually can be happening like within your body, like actual chemical stuff which makes you feel a certain way. They don't like, they refuse to acknowledge that. And as well, like this idea, well, with us it's just like you don't talk about your business out there. So even if you do have mental health problems, this idea of going to talk to a therapist, it's like, who are you going to talk to? Like do you know what I mean? It's your just they have this saying like you wouldn't like hang your knickers outside, so why would you go, you know,
air your dirty laundry,
go and air your dirty laundry out there. So it's just kind of that that kind of mentality which holds you back a bit.
so you feel it's self-inflicted within our community?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really sad, because I get the whole like spiritual aspect of it, but I feel like people, it's kind of like, yeah, we should pray about it. Like if you believe in a faith and whatnot, you need to pray about it, obviously. But it's kind of like there needs to be a physical sort of action towards it. Do you know what I mean? You can't just pray and that's it. Like I feel like people really need to rally around people and check up on them and stuff like that. Like there isn't that physical sort of like accountability to one another, and like, we're going to help you through this, or we're here to make sure that in this situation we're just going to make you feel as comfortable as possible, and like hold your hand through it. There isn't that, it's missing that element, and that's what makes it so sad, because even then it's like, okay, I should pray, but then it just feels like you're not here with me, and like it makes you then want to go back into that like rabbit hole again. Like I can't talk about it because all you're going to tell me to do is pray, and you're not here holding my hand, you know?
Or they tell you you're not religious enough and that it's your fault, you've got mental health issues, because if you were closer to God you wouldn't be suffering with these internal problems. And then when you try to tell them, no, it's a chemical balance in your brain, and it's like, obviously there's shit that's happened to you that's caused this, you know. And a lot of the times, you know, African parents are probably the reason why shit is happening, because there's a lack of understanding. And there's more like our African parents and grandparents went through a lot of shit, and they'll call us weak if we can't handle the stuff, but then the stuff they went through is trauma, you know. It wasn't something that young kids were meant to go through.
And I think like as well, like it's kind of like maybe a subconscious thing, because it's like really and truly they know that they have to change and they have to like change their mentality and everything, but it's kind of this thing of like, it's like the looking glass self. So it's like they say that they don't want to be like their parents or their grandparents, but they end up raising you the exact way that their parents did, with the same exact behavior, same exact like mannerisms and everything, like, and they always claim like, no, you know, I'm different from my mother or different from my grandparents, but they're really just they're raising you up the exact same way. So I think that's an issue as well, which is really sad, because but then there's some parents just like flat out just they don't acknowledge it. They're like, what's mental health? That's nonsense.
Like,
that's a white people thing.
There's that a lack of like self-reflection.
Yeah,
definitely.
Do you think it's because they didn't exactly? Because to them they might see it as, oh, we didn't get the luxury of addressing mental illness when we were young. We had to focus on building.
I feel like
on building like ourselves for our children, so that our children have a better life than we did. Therefore, that creates the whole. African parents don't understand mental illness or don't understand what it's like to have like disorders like depression or anxiety. So, do you feel like because of the way they were raised, they are unable to better understand where you are coming from when it comes to mental health?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our, like, the elder generation, so my mom had me young, so when I talk about this, I mainly talk about my grandmother, but like also a bit about my mum as well. My grandmother, like, obviously her generation is like kids born in the 60s, you know, boomer generation. They have a lot of PTSD because they grew up in the time of like war when African countries were getting independence, and then obviously there was a civil wars within countries, and you know, they saw a lot of things, and then things that they shouldn't have seen, like war, dead bodies, bloods, and like they repressed it all. And you know, they put their energy into their family, like you mentioned. They put energy into their religion, and then they just like brushed it away. And when they look at us, they're like, oh well, you didn't go through the things I went through. You didn't face what I went through. You didn't walk you didn't walk in the same path as me. So I went through all that so you can have a better life. And then you're saying to me, you're depressed. What have you got to be depressed about? But like, they don't look at it from our point of view as well. Like, we're living in a country where it's very hard to like get to what we want to be. Like, there's a lot of racism. Yes, it's not the worst country like for racism, but it's still really hard, you know. And like dealing with internal struggles and trying to build up, like, you know, your life in a place where you feel detached, that also causes mental health issues. And also, like, a lot of mental health issues are genetic, like schizophrenia and all this stuff, and nobody really talks about it. They, like you mentioned, Jasmine, they'd say that the person's possessed if they have schizophrenia or stuff like that. So it's really difficult to like have these discussions because like it was brushed away. Oh yeah, that person's possessed. Oh, this happened. Oh yeah, it was jinn. But they were mentally ill, you know. When are you going to stop blaming spirits and whatever and start looking at the issues of the mind?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's also a lack of education, because obviously it's been open and talked about now in today's society, but a lot of the things we learn growing up or in school, like doing psychology, whatever, our parents didn't learn. So it's kind of hard for them to understand when you bring it up to them. I feel like they just don't, either they don't get it or they don't want to get it, because it's kind of hard to just drop the things you grew up learning and believing.
There's that like I was saying, that a lack of like self-reflection, like when Jasmine was saying that like they end up like basically raising their child the same way. It's there's kind of that denial of like, oh, like things are different this time. And I feel like if they were to write down everything that maybe their parents did to them that they didn't like, and we as the younger generation wrote down what we didn't like, I'm pretty sure we'd see that things are the same.
100%.
I think they just don't realize that they're doing it maybe in a different way, but it's the same thing. And also, like Israa was talking about, like, we face different issues. It's not like so much in your face, or it's not the same issues that they did, which were horrible, of course. Like, there's things like my parents would be like, oh, we went to farm, we didn't even have time to like learn at school like that, and we had to go like to farming and cut cassava leaves and blah 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 and all this stuff, and a hardship, and then coming to different countries and figuring out that they don't accept you here and stuff like that. That's a lot. But I feel like what they don't realize is that we have our own set of issues, And fair enough, it's not the same, of course. So there's already that disconnect that you don't understand where we come from because we have different experiences. But it's a bit like, even when you think about racism, it's like a lot of the time, like racism was like so in your face before, like it's so over, like people will spit in your face and like punch you and whatever, you get chased by teddy boys. But now it's very much like covert, and in institutions it's like, oh, you didn't get the job because, you know, we're full, but you know, it was really because you didn't like my skin tone, bro. Like so like it's kind of like we face things but they're in different forms, and it's very like, it's sad that you discredit like the covert forms of things or the things that you don't understand, because they do affect people. And it's just that it's really sad because you're stuck in a cycle of like, I can't speak about it because you will not take me seriously.
And I think like that's another big problem, like within like, especially like within African communities, like parents love to throw that into your face, like, you're complaining but I had to do this. You have to understand your struggle is not my struggle is what's happening right now, and you have to accept that is my struggle now. Just because it wasn't what you went through, it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt as much, it doesn't mean it's not as painful or as stressful, but it's just a different form of struggle, which I think they don't understand.
It's a different form. And it's like, it's not like as the years go on, struggles are not gonna arise and be different. Like I don't know, it's kind of like, even when I think about it, it's like almost like a little delusion where it's like, oh, like we've paved a way that's like easier for you, and fair enough, in certain things we have access to things now, and so many things that they didn't have. But it's like, do you really think that the world's just like, the world isn't getting better? It just like different forms of different things just end up taking different shapes. So for instance, like you have like bullying in school, now we have like social media, you have cyberbullying. Like that bullying is different, but the form it takes is something else. It affects us in different ways, but it is the same kind of, you know, hurt that we feel. It's just in a different way. They just fail to realize that.
And I feel like even like back home, it's something that they have to like start acknowledging, because I feel like if they're not gonna acknowledge mental health now, like they're just gonna lead into a trajectory. Like, I don't know if you guys, I follow like a Nigerian blog, and I've been seeing so many stories, a guy throwing his baby from the window and stuff like that. And in the comments, people are like, oh, he needed to be taken to church. The spirit of the devil needed to be taken out of him. But I'm like, some people are going through real issues up here in their head. And if they were given that service of being able to see a counselor or going into a mental health institution, then, you know, maybe it might have not done anything, but it could have helped if you just acknowledged it. When he cried out for help, if someone acknowledged him, it could have made a difference. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like definitely. It's something that definitely they need to start acknowledging it, because it's just gonna get worse.
It's a stigma around it. It's so bad too. It's like, even if like they did get him like help, it would be like, oh, why did you go through there? You could have just prayed, or just like, the thing is, it's just like, I feel like you, like, if you have a faith, do that. Like, I'm not even saying, like, we're not even saying like don't do that. It's just that you need something else with it too. Like I don't think that anywhere in like a holy book it will just tell you to like, that's just it. Like, you need like people around you. Like, I know in the Bible it talks about like, it's not good for a man to be alone. Like, you need people around you. Like, you can't just be walking the journey yourself. And I'm pretty sure in loads of holy books it will say something similar or something like that. So you can't just take and pick and choose what you want from your religion and just ignore everything else. It doesn't work like that. And it's this stigma of like, oh, you're not strong if you do it. Like, what is strength in our eyes? I think that's what we need to change. Like, what is like the characteristics of a strong person? Like, being strong is having the courage to go out and say, oh, this is how I feel. That's strong as well. It's just like people don't see it that way.
I feel like hiding and going through something alone and not being able to speak up is probably weaker than actually speaking up and saying, do you know what, there's a problem and I can't sort it by myself. I need help. I need a support system.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone needs a support system.
That's so true.
It's so true.